Whenever I tell people I'm a musician, I'll usually get asked several questions like, where do you play? How often do you play? How many bands are you in? Or how much do you get paid? Which, honestly, that's a little bit personal and kind of rude if you ask me. I don't always feel like answering that. But regardless, these are things that people get curious about. The thing about questions like that is that it always depends on what type of band you're in and what type of gig you happen to be referring to or you happen to be playing. Truth is, at the local level, there are about four different types of bands, different categories of bands, I should say, all of them with different goals, different structures, different, they all serve different purposes. So I wanted to take this time to say what the four types of bands are that are out there on the local level. And there are four distinct categories. And I wanted to give a brief description about what they are, where you might see them, a little bit about the pros and cons of each, that sort of thing. And of course, everyone has their own preferences about which types of bands they prefer to see or which types they prefer to play in. I'm not really going to sit here and argue about which one is better. That's definitely a conversation we can have down the road. But for this one, I wanted to at least define and let people know what they were. Number one, original bands. Now, this seems to be the most obvious, but I wanted to start off with this one. An original band is basically any band or group that writes and performs its own original music. I'm in an original band called Sunset Rebellion. And people ask, where do you play? And I say, basically anywhere that will have us, which unfortunately is a pretty short list. See, the thing is, when you're an original band at the local level, depending on where you live, venues that give opportunities for local, amateur, unsigned original bands are usually a very niche specialty. Is it niche or niche? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Either way, but depending on where you live, they are out there. There are not many of them, but most of the time they'll be like small dive bars who specialize in, in that sort of thing. And although there are opportunities, if you have the means, there are places that you can rent out like an American Legion Hall or something like that, or some sort of venue that you can, that you can rent out if you want to put on a show yourself. As far as making money, if you're popular enough to draw an audience that will pay to see you regularly, then good on you. I mean, it is possible to do that. It's very, very difficult though. Basically, if you're in an original band looking to support yourself making money, good luck because there for most of us there is zero money in it. In fact, most of the time, being in an original band means that you are paying for the opportunity to play, to be seen, and to be heard, which is really what the goal is most of the time when you're an original artist. That's the sort of thing that I can definitely make several separate videos about, and believe me, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to being in a local original band. But an original band is something for an artist who wants to express himself or herself. Number two, cover bands. Now, a cover band, for those of you who don't know, is a band or group that mainly plays other people's music. They cover other people's material. That's where the name comes from. Most people tend to come across cover bands much more often than original bands at the local level. For example, you'll most often find cover bands in bars or restaurants or maybe parties that feature live music as sort of a side feature but are not necessarily the main attraction or the main focus of the business. Cover bands are popular because they play music that people are familiar with. And if you're in a cover band, the key is to pick memorable hit songs that people are not only familiar with, but ones that are up-tempo. They get people up and dancing, or at least singing along and engaged. Venue owners love that because it adds to the party atmosphere, which in turn draws bigger numbers, which means more drinks are being sold, that sort of thing. This is why cover bands are much more valuable to venue owners, and it's also why you, as a musician, can make guaranteed money, plus tips. Now, I know many full-time musicians out there who are able to make a living primarily playing in cover bands, although it does take a lot of work to get there. Starting a band and maintaining it is a lot like starting any other business on your own. It takes a lot of legwork, a lot of hustle, a lot of persistence, but it can be done if you're willing to put the work in. Number three, tribute bands. Now, a lot of people confuse cover bands and tribute bands with one another, but they're not the same thing. It's understandable how some people might feel that way. A tribute band, for those that don't know, is a band that pays tribute to one particular artist or band by playing their music. And in most cases, they try to recreate the live experience on stage. The most successful tribute bands put a lot of work in, painstakingly impersonating and recreating the live experience of the artist they're portraying, especially if you're a singer. In a lot of cases, this might involve costume changes and even playing the exact type of gear or using the same type of instruments that the original artist that you're portraying plays. The tribute bands that make the most money often put in a ton of work with promoting their act, touring, and even creating merchandise as if they were an original band. And oftentimes they'll link up with a particular talent agency that specifies in tribute bands. They are out there. I'm not going to put them by name, but if you do a Google search, you'll be able to find them. Now, does every tribute band have to do this? Does everyone have to be an impersonator? Not necessarily. Much like original bands, tribute bands operate at varying degrees of success. Some go for strict impersonation, and some don't, or either they don't, or they're unable to do so, or they have a unique spin on presenting the material. Like, sometimes you'll find like an all-female tribute band. Iron Maiden actually has one called the Iron Maidens. So, as far as me, I play bass in a Linkin Park tribute band. We usually only play out a few times a year on average, but people will come out to see it if we promote it because they want to hear Linkin Park songs played live. Now, the good thing about tribute bands is that you can treat it like a special attraction and you can actually make more money per show than your average cover band. The thing is, you can't play in the same area too often, otherwise it's not as special of an attraction anymore. So there are trade-offs for it, but you can do it. And finally, number 4 are wedding/corporate event bands. Now, this is the type of band that, on average, pays the most. Basically, it's the next level up from being in a cover band. It's much more professional. There's a set list, and the presentation is catered specifically toward an occasion, like a wedding or a corporate event, like a gala event or company party or whatever it is. It's much more sophisticated than your average bar band. But if you're professional enough to get gigs like that, you're in a great spot. They definitely pay the most. I've never been in one of these bands myself, but I imagine if you're lucky enough to be in a band like that, it has to be very competitive, especially depending on where you're located. And if you're a musician, if you're in a band like that, you would better be on your A game because the stakes are much higher. So there you go. Those are the 4 main types of bands that you'll run into at the local level, and just a quick idea about what they are, what the differences are. Now, obviously, I could go into greater detail about each of these, and I probably will. But for now, if you like what you heard, please do me a favor and subscribe to my channel for more content. Click on like, leave a comment, turn on notifications, and check out my links in the description. This channel is still very new, so I definitely want to hear your feedback, and you guys let me know what you want to talk about. All right? I'll talk to you later. Bye.